use explicit violence in your writings?
It's what I do, is one answer. I write horror fiction. There is a kind of curiosity that we have as human beings about our life processes. One of our last life processes is death. It's a legitimate subject for curiosity. We shouldn't be ashamed that the macabre or the morbid exercises some fascination upon us. I tell it like it is. If it's there in my mind's eye, I put it on the page. And that seems to me to be a legitimate way to write.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Written and Read, the Horror Readers and Writers podcast. I am one of your four hosts, Daniel Volpe, author of Billy Silver and Awaken in Blood, and my newest book that should be out by the time you guys are hearing this, Talia. And with me, I'm joined by my fellow horror authors and co-hosts, first one being Aaron Bargaard.
Hey guys, Aaron Bargaard, Splatterpunk Award-nominated horror author of such works as The Slob, Scary Bastard, Try the New Candy, Yellow, and Wedding Day Massacre.
Carver Pike.
Hey everybody, Splatterpunk Award-nominated author for Slaughterbox. I've also written Grad Night, Scalp, and a handful of other books. Glad to be here.
He's like, I wrote some fucking books.
We're already fucked
You know
up.
what? Fuck it.
All right, and the last but not least, the ageless wonder, Vampire Lestat himself, Roland Bursey Jr.
Hey everybody, Roland Bursey, author of Unbortion, winner of the 2020 American Fiction Awards, and finalist in the 2019 International Book Awards. Also wrote Payback as a Witch and Pre-Thanksgiving Stress Disorder, which is going to be released hopefully in November as paperback, ebook, and audiobook.
Woo!
All right. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is episode, 5, right? It's been a great run so far. We appreciate all the listeners, all the emails, all the social media posts. I, for one, am truly overwhelmed by it. The response that everyone has given us has been phenomenal. So this show is the first one where we're actually going to start getting into the meat and potatoes of what we designed this podcast to be about. We're going to open the show up by discussing a fellow indie horror author, some of his works, some of his more popular stuff, and some of his future stuff that's coming up. After that, we're gonna turn the show over to Aaron, and we're gonna go over our topic for the day, and have a good conversation for you guys.
If we got some time, we'll do some listener questions, because we've definitely received quite a few questions to the mailbag, and time permitting, we will start addressing some toward the end, and if not this week, definitely next week. Carver has a bag of tricks with random questions embedded inside it.
Yeah, and the cool thing is we're actually doing a mailbag, so we're just reaching in and pulling out questions. You don't know if your question will be asked this week or next week or the following, so stay tuned and make sure you listen in for the question we'll be answering.
All right, everyone. If you're,
yeah, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with tonight.
Carver's broken tonight.
Man.
Also, wherever you guys are listening to this, we are available on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Aaron, we're not up on anywhere else yet, right?
I just submitted to Stitcher, and then there's like a bunch of other ones like Podcast Addict. Honestly, Google Play we're submitted to as well. So I think very soon you should be able to get us in just about any platform.
Outstanding. And like we've said in previous episodes, if you guys want to listen to our smooth, beautiful voices, you can. But if you'd like to see the video of this, it is available on YouTube. So go on over to the Written and Read podcast, our channel on YouTube, and check out the video. Subscribe, like our videos, all that happy horse shit, and leave some comments. We always love to hear them all.
Yeah, at the time of this recording, we're not quite at 100 subscribers, so the Chickinator is going to have to wait.
He stays in his roost.
Yeah.
No, not Chickinator.
So close, too.
Yeah, so it was close. We were like 70-something, but the Chickinator will stay in the roost until Till we break that hundo mark.
Yeah, I read about 70-something people start not giving the fuck, you know? But
Yeah, motherfuckers. Oh, God. All right, ready to start? Or anybody got anything else they'd like to add before we kick the
I'm
shit
not
show
saying
off?
shit because I keep fucking up everything I say. I'm
It's a
just going to
good
be
idea.
quiet.
It's a
I like it.
great
It's kind of entertaining though, you know. It's there's a certain charm about it, you know.
Yeah, I like now because now you're thinking about it, so now you're gonna fuck it up even more. So it's better.
Exactly, yeah. I'm just going to stop talking when it's time to stop talking because I can't figure out when to stop talking. So
Like now?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just talking
good time.
when I should not be talking. Yeah,
Just
and fuck all y'all.
All right. All right. We'll move into the first portion of the show. I'm going to be covering a couple of books from a very popular and indie author, and also a very good friend of mine, Mr. Dustin LaValley. Dustin, you may have heard some of his stuff before. He's been featured in anthologies through Evil Cookie. I think he's in Bludgeoning Tools and Brutality. He co-wrote a story with Edward Lee I think it was in Brutality. Mm-hmm. He also has this excellent, a 3-novella collection, 12 gauge, Songs from a Street Sweeper. I actually have this is a signed edition. In this book, there's 3 novellas. And this, I just want to mention, this is from Sinister Grin Press, if anybody wants this. I
like Sinister Grin a lot. That I used to buy the Cut Corners collections from there. I think they're just pretty cool. And some of the artwork on their stuff's pretty dope too.
So right now, this book, 12 gauge, and his other short story collection, Soundless Dawn, these are both available on Amazon right now for $7.50 each in paperback. So they're 50% off. I don't know when this will air, the exact date, but right now it is April 19th. So hopefully they'll still be available at that price. So this first book, 12 gauge, this has 3 novellas in it, like I said, Spinner, Harmed, and The Deceived. I'll just briefly going to talk about them just to kind of give you everybody a heads up on what they're about. Spinner is a novella about an escaped convict out of a local prison, and he gets out into the woods. There's definitely some dark shit that's going on, and he encounters an old man, and in that old man, he finds some even darker shit. I don't want to give too much away because Dustin really paints a great picture in this story about this escaped convict whose name is Spinner. Dustin doesn't skip on any of the details. He really goes and researches his stuff. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about his research in prison escapes. He's not an escaped convict as far as I know, but he definitely has some knowledge on it.
Hey, maybe someday, right? We can always hope, you know?
Yeah, well, you never know. The second novella in this collection that is probably his most popular one is called Harmed. Harmed is probably one of my favorite novellas I think I've ever read. It is if you guys have ever seen Smoking Aces?
Yes.
You see that movie? All right. So this story is kind of like a Smoking Aces and like a fucking battle royale in a store. So pretty much there's like a death match in a like almost like a Walmart. And you have these groups of people that come in for this huge death match. They all have these crazy cars, crazy hairdos. It's just like almost like a Mad Max meets Smoking Aces kind of thing. Very satirical kind of book where the individuals in there are very cliche, to say the least. When I spoke to Dustin about this actual novella, he told me he got some hate mail on it because people were not happy about the way he portrayed certain individuals. But as we've all said before, everybody has their own opinion, and it really is a great story. And the last one is The Deceived. The Deceived is probably one of the more psychological stories of his that I've read. I really don't want to go too much into it because it's probably the shortest one of the bunch. But I'll just read the quick blurb on the back. It just says, a criminal pair invade the home of the wrong man on the wrong day. So needless to say, these two people decide to break into a house, and they end up getting more than they bargained for on that particular night. Have any of you guys read any of his stuff or are familiar with any of it at all?
No, but I want to
No.
now. It sounds like
All right.
you write some pretty violent, just kick-ass stories. So
Yeah,
sounds
it's
like something I do.
sort of makes him the perfect first person, since a lot of us, the rest of us, haven't heard of him. So,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I've actually heard you mention him a few times, and I took a look at his work for a moment, knowing that he was coming on and some of the accolades you listed. It sounds awesome. So that's why I'm glad that we get a chance to figure it out. See what's up.
Yeah, Dustin he's a super talented writer, obviously, but he's also into film. He's got some short videos. I don't know if they're up on YouTube or not, but he's great at film. He also writes for TV shows. When I talked about the prison escape, he actually co-wrote episodes 3 and episode 6 for the Escape at Dan and Mora show. I think it was on Showtime. I believe it was on Showtime. And that show itself was nominated for multiple Emmys. So he's definitely got some talent in the writing business when it comes to screenplays and whatnot.
Hey, which book did you say he co-wrote, or what story with Edward Lee? Do you know?
I don't know the name of it, but I'm pretty sure it was the first one in Brutality, the Brutality collection from Evil Cookie with K. Trap Jones. That was one of them. Actually, Edward Lee did in A Silence Dawn. Ed Lee did the the intro in the beginning here.
Okay.
So just a couple other things about introduction.
Oh, that's
Silence
cool.
Dawn by
Yeah.
Did he tell you,
Dustin-
Daniel, at all how he built a relationship? I'm sure like other aspiring writers or readers might wonder, you know what I mean, how their relationship might have come about. I don't know if he shared anything.
No, I know that he was very active in the movie scene and obviously horror writing. So I think he was just meeting people through cons and stuff like that and making points of contact. Couple other things that he did pass on to me that I just want to let everyone know that Harmed, that novella that we talked about, is actually coming out in hardcover from Dynatax. I'm not sure the exact release date for that, but that'll be coming out soon. That'll definitely be something to look forward to because, again, that's just a really good, violent, graphic, just kind of silly novella. And he did tell me that, I don't know if this is an exclusive, but it's the first time I've heard about it, so it might be. In 2021, he's releasing a collection called Sum of All Parts, aka Soap, which is going to be dedicated to Jack Ketchum. He and Jack Ketchum were pretty close. They were, friendly. Jack Ketchum, Dallas Mayor, definitely helped Dustin out a lot with his career. Did a lot of stuff with him, worked with him, gave him a lot of advice and stuff like that. And Dustin, for anyone who doesn't know, Dustin is a huge animal lover. If you don't have him followed on social media, check him out. Him and his big old Rottweiler, Bronson. He always posts pictures and videos to him. But what a lot of people don't know is Dustin donates the majority of his money for his writing to animal shelters. And he told me that all the proceeds from Harmed, Soap, and the Polish release of 12 Gauge are going to all go to local animal shelters. So
That's cool.
definitely take a look for his stuff in the future, or now. Get it now when you can. And if you see his stuff come out in the future, especially that new collection coming out, pick that up. So not only will you help support a great author, and you definitely support a great cause.
Wow, that's awesome.
I'm sorry. You know if any of this stuff is on audiobook?
I don't know if any of it's on audiobook. Like I said, I know he just told me that the 12 Gauge is being translated to Polish, but I don't know if anything's on audiobook. I'd have to check Audible, but
I was just curious. Yeah. Nice.
yeah, he does really great work. And like I said, he's a huge animal lover. But yeah, check him out, social media. I know he's definitely on Facebook and Instagram, and you can buy all his stuff straight through Amazon. Like I said, right now, Silence Dawn and 12 Gauge are half price on Amazon. Hopefully they still will be when this comes out. But yeah, check him out.
Awesome.
Yeah, guys, if you want the spelling of his name and stuff, it'll be in the episode description too. So check there, and it sounds like, I mean, that's pretty friggin' generous. What did he say? Like 3 books he's going to be donating the proceeds for? That's insane, dude.
Yeah, Yeah, he
that's-
donates. Yeah, for Harmed, the hardcover edition of Harmed, and that comes out, and then like you said, the advance and the royalties on Soap, and then anything he gets from his Polish translation of 12 gauge, all goes. He's a very, like I said, minimalistic guy, but he has what he has, and he doesn't need anything extra. You know, he has a good life, and he just wants to help out. And actually, it's funny because today he just sent me. I got a package from him, and it was dog treats for my dog. He's like, "Oh, my dog loves these. See if your dog will like them too." So I didn't even know. I came home and I have a package from him. Like, and he sent me a really cool book too. But yeah, he always he's like a fucking like Secret Santa, but he just randomly sends me shit, and I love it. So cool dude, and definitely a writer worth checking out.
Very nice.
That's awesome. Sounds like a good one for the first initial one that we cover, you know, because we're going to be doing, as you guys know, the very beginning of the podcast, an author in a book. So this is a good one. And maybe you can give us a preview of next week, Daniel?
So next week I'm going to talk about.
I'm sorry,
a great.
I'll say next episode, not next week,
episode, yeah,
because
yeah.
we are on bi-weekly format now. So you got
we'll be getting fucking trolled if you say that.
Yeah.
So the next episode, I'm going to be talking about a phenomenal author, Elizabeth Bedlam. She writes some really fucking weird shit, and her book that I'm going to focus on. I have a couple of hers which I'll touch on. But the main book I'm going to focus on is called Hello, Old Friend. Probably one of the more fucked up books I've read, psychologically wise. And I don't want to spoil too much. I'll save it for the next episode. But yeah, look forward to that for next one.
All right, Elizabeth Bedlam. Sounds good. Seems like a cool lady. So I'm looking forward to hearing some more too.
Yeah.
All right, but so that's going to wrap up the spotlight of the week, right? And now we can move into our writer's advice and discussion section of the podcast. And today it is called Can I Write? So we thought that this would be a nice, good, general place to start and sort of, you know, just talk about, you know, where you start before you start, right? Like the concept, the direction, right? And the idea for this comes from, you know, people and conversations that I have with different people, really. So, you know, that's a question, can I write? That seems to come up a lot. And in my opinion, like, it's not so much can you write. I try to tell them, you know, like, but will you write? You know, everybody can write. It's something we learned to do in like the first grade, right? But you got to kind of ask yourself the question, like, why am I writing? You know what I mean? I think that's the very first sort of launch point, right? So yes, you can write. Anybody that wants to write certainly can. But why are you going to write? So, and to help you better understand your path, like for our listeners, you know, you ask yourself, do you want to aspire to build a catalog that, you know, is like Matt Shaw and be like a prolific, you know, self-achiever that does it your way? Or do you want to just do it as a hobby? Maybe this is just a hobby to you. Or maybe, you know, you think it's going to start out as a hobby, but you hope it develops into a gruesome, bloody garden of wet flowers, you know? Yes. But that could be one thing too, right? Or do you just want to test the waters and see if you can get your name in print with, you know, without learning every single trick of the trade, right? So there, you know, as you see, there's a bunch of different ways that you could approach it. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're saying, hey, yeah, you know, this is why I'm interested in the podcast. I want to write. Your first step should be, why are you going to write? So guys, what do you think about that kind of stuff right there? Just kind of the opening statement. And then I'm going to get into some different pros and cons of paths that the potential listeners can take.
Yeah, I like this topic because I swear, and you guys probably hear it too, just about everybody that you talk to when you tell them you're an author or you're a writer, almost everybody says, oh, really? Because I have this awesome book idea and I got this book idea I need to work on. And everybody has that book idea they want to work on, but are they going to sit down and write it? You're like, are you? Can you? I think it's a pretty good question to cover. So I like that we're going over this right now.
Yeah, I think like the question of can to me is not relevant. Like I just think it's like will you? Because I truly believe anybody can do it. Now, will it be a great masterpiece, or will it just be a piece of personal material? So I mean, we could even be. Go ahead, Carver. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, I even think you could take it back almost to what you learned back in school, man, with the who, what, where, when, why, and how. I mean, if you sit down and answer all of those questions, you'll figure out whether you're going to write and if you're a writer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, first of all, who? Like, are you a poet? Because a lot of people, when they sit down and they talk about writing, they want to write a book of poetry. There are a lot of poets out there. So, and that might be your thing. Maybe you want to be a novelist. Maybe you want to write nonfiction. I mean, so first of all, who are you? Like, what kind of writer are you talking about in the first place, right?
Yeah, and then that kind of ties into the what, right? I feel like so who you are determines what you're going to write, most likely.
Well, yeah, and then I was going to say even with what could also be once you figured that out, like what genre too, right? Are you a horror writer? Are you? We've talked about my past, starting out with erotic romance and stuff like that. So, are you trying to write the next big novel? Are you, trying to write the next big slice of life? What do you call it? Growing up.
Coming of age tale, right?
Coming of age. That's the word. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
The
Are you trying to write the next big coming of age story? Those. What'd you say?
So the Yaya sisterhood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So So who are you? What kind of writer are you? And then what are you going to? Because even poetry has genres, I think, right? I mean, kind of. I mean, you're either going to be writing about landscapes and stuff like that in nature, or you might be a horror writer. I mean, you can write horror poetry.
I believe I believe it's sad, and then there's very sad, and then there is suicidal poetry. That's the tears.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like anybody can write. It's not one of those things that unless you're completely illiterate, you can read and write. And it's like Aaron said, everybody has these ideas, and everybody can write. It's will you write? And I think you have to, if it means that much to you, which obviously it does to the four of us, you'll sit down and you'll write. And like you guys said, it might not be the greatest, bestseller. One of the big 5 or big 6 New York publishers may not be knocking down your door, but there is a sense of accomplishment. And, I'm sure you guys as well have trunk novels. I probably have 4 or 5 trunk novels that for anybody that doesn't know. Chickenator's not. Chickenator might be a Godless exclusive. I'll probably make money.
No, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All the hype built up behind Chickenator.
I think people might flock to it.
Oh,
you see?
I see what you did there.
Horrendous pawn. Oh.
He's gonna be here all night. I don't know. For me, it was. I'm sorry. I think for me, it was more just wanting to see if I can accomplish it by getting my name up there and publishing something. And then after I did that, I was like, oh shit, this is something I like to do. I enjoy this. And so I wanted to keep going, and I did. So I think there's a whole bunch of personal reasons for everybody who decides, hey, I want to write a book. That reason that you want to do it is special to you and you alone.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like for me, once I wrote Try the New Candy, I'm like, I just want to be a writer now, and I want to create a catalog of work to leave behind, and I want to leave it to my cousin's kid, because that's there's no other real children in our family, but I kind of want to just make a legacy, and I want to make a living off of it. I want to do it professionally. I'm doing it at the moment. We'll see how I can keep that afloat. But for me, it's like everything. I'm all in. You know what I mean? And so I feel like I fall into the bucket of this is just who I am.
Yeah.
But
I think a lot of too of what we're talking about, and going back to that who, what, where, when, why, and how kind of too, is because we were just saying, and Daniel said it, and Aaron, you both said it, and Roland kind of touched on it too, that it's whether you're actually going to sit down and do it and stuff, or you're going to make excuses, right? So for where, I think of it as where are you going to write? because a lot of people will say, you know, I would write, but I'm going to do it as soon as I get my own office. I'm going to do it as soon as I have a place that's my own where I can sit and write. I can tell you, I wrote fucking everywhere, man. I was a security guard, and I would stand at the door with a little notebook and write. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't stop me from writing ever. Like,
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if I'm sitting at a sports game and nothing's going on, one of the kids' games or something, and it's, you know, halftime and nothing's going on, you'll probably see me jotting something down or tapping something into my phone. Yeah. So again, it's a matter of, will you actually write? Can you, and will you write? Yeah,
it's like, a good thing is we're not fucking Edgar Allan Poe over here that needs to be next to the quill and the inkwell. You know, we have phones, we have things. There are no excuses, okay? There's no excuses. Everyone has the opportunity to do it in one way or another. No matter how much money you have or don't have, there's a way to do it, you know? Even if it's just a pad and a paper. You know, whatever you have to do, there's an option. So like you said, you can only make excuses for so long before, you know, it's just kind of a pipe dream. And if it's something that you have a feeling about, don't let it just be that. You know, that's my challenge to the listener, you know? Like, if you have that idea, that feeling, you know, I've let it go away too, you know, in the past when I was younger and in different phases of my life. But if I could go back to high school and tell myself one thing, I'd be like, Aaron, start fucking writing right now, dude.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think for a lot of people, they don't want to start because they're afraid. They're afraid of it's hard. First of all, it's difficult. It's difficult for some people to do because for the four of us, I feel like we're fairly prolific. I mean, especially, you know, between Carver and Aaron, I mean, you guys crank stuff out left and right. Yeah. But for some people, it takes them a year, 2, 3 years to write, you know, 75,000 words, which is no easy feat in its own. But I think people are just afraid of failing, or they're afraid of that they write something and they can't get it published, or they write something and they don't like it, which, newsflash, you're probably not going to like it. Your first draft, you're probably going to look at it and be like, this is a piece of fucking shit. And but that's part of the process. So I think
and it doesn't help that usually, and this is for everybody, so if you're out there right
fucking thing sucks. So I'm sorry, Carver.
And you're trying to start writing, you're probably coming across this yourself, that you guys can probably all speak to this, that in most authors' lives, most family doesn't get it. You're lucky if you have somebody in your family that gets it and says, man, I can't wait to read your next work. You're doing awesome. I hope this works for you. It seems like most family members seem to think of it as just a hobby. You know, it's just something like, oh yeah, I had a brother that used to write too back in his college newspaper, you know, and it's like, no, it's fucking serious, man. It's my fucking job. Take this shit seriously.
It's because it's like, so it's hard to make money off of it, you know? That's probably
when you're feeling already and nervous and scared, like Daniel was just saying, it doesn't help when other people are just, you know, when are you going to find a real job? You know, when are you going to go? That kind of stuff. So that doesn't help.
Well, I think all of us, though, probably do. You know, I did it like pretty much everything up until my first 9 books while I was working like fucking 50, 60-hour weeks. You know what I mean? So it's you gotta want it, and that's the thing. If you're earning it, right, through all this other bullshit and stress in your life, you know, that's the achievement. You know, in my opinion.
Well, that's what I was going to come to next was when, because we just I was talking about where, but same thing with when. Like Roland, I know you work long hours. Daniel, you work some long hours. Me and Aaron, we're pretty much at home. I mean, I'm still doing some side stuff, but I mean, for the most part, I don't work those long hours like you guys do, but I used to. We both used to. You know, I worked teaching classes, high school, you know, hundreds of kids and stuff, and I was exhausted, man. But I would find time. Like on my break time, I'd be writing. I'd get up. I've done the whole thing where you get up early in the morning and you write before work, or you come home and you write in the evening, you know, before you go to bed, that kind of stuff. I mean, if you want to write, you'll find the time. There is time somewhere.
It should fucking strike you, dude.
Minutes here and there, but there's time.
Carver, it should fucking strike you like a bolt of lightning in the chest. The idea, and you're just like, hey, I have to do it. I have to write this. I can't not. And then you're writing it, and you're like, holy shit, yes. keep going. I got to keep going. Then you wake up the next day, you're like, man, I got to find a way to fucking keep going with this shit, you know? So, like, you should be excited about your ideas. It's like if you're in the NFL and you make a big play, you fucking celebrate, right? You know, if you've got a great idea, you need to celebrate it and be passionate about it and find a way to put it out. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how you do it.
Exactly. Absolutely. It's almost like being uncomfortable when you're not able to write and you have that idea and you can sit there and tell yourself like, damn, I need to get this out. And like you guys said, like you have to find time. It always goes back to like exercising. When you hear people, they make excuses like, oh, I don't have time to exercise. Like, motherfucker, go on YouTube. You can get a 20-minute exercise in on an exercise video there and you can knock it out. You have to want to do it. Same thing with writing. You have time. If you write 250 words a day, who cares? You wrote something. Write something every day if you can. Or if you're burnt out from writing, like every now and then, in between books, we'll go back and I'll reread. I'll do my editing then. I will do some social media posts. I'll answer some emails. I'll look at some different swag items that I wanna check out. I'll do something that is writing related every single day.
There's always something to do, right? There's always something to do, and there's like, if you're taking the route that we're taking, which is the self-publishing, it's just a carousel. So there's variety, you know, and it doesn't have to be monotonous. But like you said, I mean, to people who are writing for the first time, it shouldn't feel so much like a chore. It should be a celebration, I would think. And but to people who are just, for guys like you and I, Carver, that are fucking near 10 books, or I know you're over 10 books, it's like, I don't know. I still don't find it a chore, but I guess I could see how someone else might, want to break it up, like you saying, Daniel. You know what I mean? Like, if you're writing for fucking 2 weeks straight or something, then you may need a break, but...
No, absolutely. And you gotta kind of, you don't want to burn yourself out. And it's one of those processes where you have to take your time. And I think a big thing for people too is, with anything in life, is don't compare yourself to other people. Don't sit there and say like, oh, I wrote this book and it's fucking really good, but this guy's getting a lot of credit. I'm not getting shit, and nobody's buying mine. And we see that on social media. People become jaded and they become bitter of other people's success. Like you should celebrate that, especially in our genre, because we live and die by each other and our fans. And if I'm a fan and a reader and I see an author throwing a bitch fest over not getting enough reviews or people not, liking his book or her book, that's going to pull me away from them. So as a new writer, no, the four of us are not going to be Stephen King. More than likely, I would love to, if we broke out and became like that, but he is, the best around. And
Daniel,
kind of
you can be anymore. That's like a whole other subject to talk about, but
yeah.
But you and I talked about this earlier, Daniel, right? And we agree, you shouldn't want to be Stephen King, man. Like, I don't want to fucking be Stephen King. I want to be the first Aaron Beauregard dude. I want to have my own, I have influences, of course. Yeah, everybody has their own influences and things like that, but you should want to build a brand yourself, something unique, And I don't know.
Like you're the UK's answer to Aaron Beauregard. We're gonna see that on the covers of books and shit.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like we said earlier, you don't want to be someone else. You want to be yourself, but you want to achieve that level of success. And you just don't want to compare yourself to other people because you're going to get discouraged. And it's the same way with anything. If you play baseball and you're like, oh, I'm never going to be as good as this major league pitcher, you're like, yeah, probably not, because he's a fucking major league pitcher. It just is what it is. But you got to take it for what it's worth for what we do, and enjoy the process. One of the big things I enjoy most about the indie horror scene is just the camaraderie. Like, I've had met so many good people through this, and I've only been really on the scene for maybe a year, almost, probably around a year. And it's awesome. It's like a small little niche family, and I think it's just so close, and people just are welcoming. So
yeah, it's amazing. People have been so friendly and so welcoming, and supportive and encouraging. I want to keep going and moving forward and writing more books because of how much encouragement and support I'm getting from everybody. It's amazing.
Yeah,
So,
and
I think
that's
a lot of
that's
people,
driving.
I'm sorry. I think this is intimidation for people who want to start. They're scared. They're not sure, like you say, if they're going to be able to do it or how they're going to figure out how to get published. But you can do it. The resources are at your fingertips. You know, there's Google. There's so many different things to help you in the process. And if you have the desire, if you have the drive, it's accomplishable.
It's I don't think it's anything to be scared of. You know what I mean? Like, I can understand how someone would be overwhelmed by the thought of it. Like, oh, how's it all going to start? But if you're listening to this podcast, like, we're going to try to do an arc. You know what I mean? With this reader, with these episodes, you know, I'm going to try to get you sort of from the beginning of the process, which is this, right? Can I write? Yes. Along the way to the creation, to the editing, to everything. We're going to go through it all. But we're streamlining it in a simple way for you to digest. But everybody, you know, if we weren't here, this shit's out there anyway, you know? Like, we live in, what fucking year is it? 2021? Is that like, I think so. That's some Jetson shit, man. Like, there's fucking, you can get anything you want right now in about 2 minutes, you know? But I was trying to figure some shit out on the computer about saving new content to an external drive, and I just couldn't figure it out. But I'm sure if I did it longer, I would have figured it out, but...
Yeah, no, there's so many resources out there and stuff, and for people who are afraid to write or like, oh, I can't type fast, another thing that I've used a lot in the past is voice dictation. Oh, like most phones have voice dictation on it, and just talk, stream of consciousness, just talk your ideas out, and then later on when you have time to sit down and put them on paper, then listen to it back, and maybe you jot down some notes, and then you start formulating an outline and go from there. Anytime an idea strikes, everybody has a cell phone. I don't know about you guys, but like I think Carter said earlier about tapping away on his phone. I use the the notebook app on my phone a lot, and I'll put ideas in there for anything, grocery lists or freaking anything that I need to. But a lot of times I put a lot of writing ideas in there or on the voice recorder that's built into the phone. So if you want to do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to those
people, definitely need to be said, because you mentioned the whys and stuff earlier, is that if you're doing this because you think it's a money-making scheme and you're just going to it's a get rich quick thing, if you think we're all just rolling the dough right now and stuff like that, then that is definitely not a reason to get into writing. No. And I see that a lot, especially on the romance side of it and stuff. And I'm not going to say there aren't cheating, you know, schemes and stuff that go on to help people make a lot of money writing. But talking about the whys, if that's your main motivator, is you just think that you're going to become the next Stephen King and make a shit ton of money in a very short amount of time, there's a lot of you've heard stuff cliche, blood, sweat, and tears that go into, you know, sports and stuff. There's a lot of that shit in writing, man, and it's hard work, but it's gratifying work too. I mean, we love it, but don't do it if you think you're doing it just because you're going to earn fucking, you know, $10,000 by next month and stuff like that. I mean, that's just not how it goes unless you're incredibly lucky.
Yeah, no, that was one of the big things I noticed. Not that I was naive about it, but when I started getting into the indie horror scene, you see a lot of these authors, and they are average people. They have day jobs, they have families, you know, and they're out there grinding 9 to 5, doing what they have to do, and they still find time to write and to get stuff done. So yeah, like Carver said, if you think you're getting rich off self-publishing your indie horror, you could, but the chances of that are very slim.
Yeah. I mean, you may be able to make, you know, after a lot of hard work and many releases and learning how to advertise on social media and building fan interactions and working with editors and, you know what I mean? Just like, there's a lot of boxes you're going to have to check to be able to make any sort of solid residual income. But if you do it, it will be there. And it's like, with me, I kind of, you know, I released a lot of stuff while I was hard at work. And now it's kind of beginning to pay off. But there's no said date that I can be like, oh yeah, it's not like a certain thing. It's not like you're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm definitely good to go now. No, you better fucking keep writing and releasing and keep people's interest and be fucking courteous and be kind and be real. You know what I mean? Because that shit can all disappear just like that.
Hey, touching back on the win, like for me, I actually find it not hard to, but like I get distracted in the evening when I'm home from work. The last thing I want to do is sit in front of the computer again for another 3 hours and write. And I want to, and I have the ideas that I've jotted down, and I know how I want to get them out there. But so like for Daniel, you have kids. When do you get most of your writing done? Like, and do you have a set time, or what's your process like for that?
Yeah, so when I write, I'm a morning person. A lot of people aren't, but I generally will get up, an hour or two earlier than I have to get up for work, and I just write usually from 5 to 6 a.m. And I type quickly, and if I have the ideas that are there, it all kind of comes out. So I'm usually a morning writer. If I have some time on the weekends at night when everybody's in bed, I might stay up a little later because my kids are still little, so they're in bed fairly early. And I'll stay up a little bit later then. But I just recently had an office built in my basement, so it's nice if I do have something I want to get done in the middle of the day, I can also, run to my little lair and crack out some words.
Yeah, can you show us the doll collection, angle the camera slightly so we can...
Yeah, if you want to just take a look here.
Yeah, that's the new office built in... so he writes near the Cabbage Patch.
It can happen.
The filth and horror that comes from my mind is brought to you by American Girl. And
yeah.
So Aaron, I know you're home, and so you probably have tons of time to write. Or do you have specific hours that you sit down and dedicate to it?
No. This is a new thing for me. So like, before I used to just fucking try and write as much as I could, even if it was like simultaneous to when I was working a little bit, you know what I mean? Or on my breaks or my lunch or whatever. But now it's kind of more random because I'm trying to do a lot more stuff in the vein of promotion, advertising. Also, like this show, for example, this is very time consuming. Putting out videos and audio for podcasts, that can be time consuming. But like, for example, the last 4 days or something, I've been writing Son of the Slob like a fucking madman. You know what I mean? But then this shit came up, so it's like it kind of interrupted it in a way. So I'll have to kind of get back into that mode next week because it's really flowing right now. If I could have had it my way, I'd have just been like in a dungeon somewhere writing that shit nonstop. But so you gotta be able to write to like shift gears, but you gotta kick back into that gear because like if it's going really good, you don't want to taper off, right? But I'm sorry, Daniel, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna ask you. I know you said Roland said you have a home, but how do you maintain looking homeless all the time? It's just out of curiosity.
That's just my God-given gifts, I
was just checking because I almost feel like I'm waiting. I feel like you're in a library. Every time we record this, like you just bathe in the bathroom and you're about to get thrown out.
I do have that kind of the look of the guy that's going to get killed first in a Vietnam movie,
Yeah, oh yeah.
Maybe that
definitely.
might be part of it. But
my
I mean, you're one to talk though, baby dungeon boy.
Yeah, my blue walls.
You say those are your children, but
I know. I live alone actually.
Right, there's like a big spoiler.
Oh God, I ruined it already. It's only episode 5.
That's got me crying.
But no, broke Roland again. No, but definitely finding the time to write, and like Aaron said, like switching gears back. It's definitely it can be challenging when you're on a roll writing something and then life pops up or something happens, or for me, when I write in the mornings, I have a very limited amount of time, and when it's time to leave and I have to get ready for work, then I have to stop, and hopefully that the next day I'm able to pick up and continue that head of steam I had, the previous day.
Awesome.
What about you, Carver? What do you do?
Well, I still work part-time, so a lot of the stuff is done. I do a lot of part-time work here at the house, and but I spend at least 2 days a week doing just book-related stuff. But during those 2 days, I try to get as much writing as I can. But then there's also all the social media stuff that pops up and all the other things going on. You guys know how it is, so it's just like a nonstop. I swear I have like writer's ADD. I've just got like 50 tabs open on my laptop. I'm like, oh yeah, and then I need to pay this bill, and then I need to, you know what I mean? So even working from home, there's just so much different stuff that has to be taken care of and stuff too. Yeah. In some ways, I don't want to say that I don't want to be working at home, but in some ways, I think I actually having a job pushed me a little bit more too, because I had to find that time and stuff where when I'm in the house, I'm distracted more easily. Like we had plumbers here last week, and just dealing with the plumbers and stuff like that just took a lot of time and stuff away from writing, where I wouldn't be here if I was at a job, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but for the most part, I get words in every single day. Like I just wrote, I wasn't going to say this, and I will probably mention it before this episode airs. I don't know. But I just wrote in the last 2 days about 6,000 words for a Scalp prequel, because in Scalp, some of the feedback I've gotten is some people are kind of pissed that I never really say where the parasitic head lice came from. And I did that on purpose. I just kind of wanted you to think about it. I didn't really want to give an exact, where they came from. So the prequel will kind of tell you, but I wrote the prequel with the idea of submitting it to a upcoming space anthology. I'm not going to say the one because there's a good chance I won't get in. So if I don't get in, regardless, I'm still going to release it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it because it's so short, but I'm going to try for an anthology first. If I don't get in, then I'll still be releasing. But it was fun to write.
You alluded to this a few weeks back when Daniel asked you if you were going to write Crabs, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah, this is what it is.
This is what it is, right?
You inspired him.
Exactly. It starts out as
genital parasites inspired you.
Mm-hmm.
Roland, what do you do when you're not feeding on people's blood to maintain your youth? How do you write?
I think I get most of my stuff done while I'm at work. Like, I'm a medical assistant. I know they don't expect me to work while I'm there. That's just ridiculous. But I also work with 30 women, and I am the only man. So I have 30 wives. So I try and write between patients or on my lunch hour, but there's always somebody over my shoulder. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, oh, you know what I'm doing. Have fun. Get away from me. Because they all know I'm writing.
Don't listen to the show. You won't be in trouble tomorrow, boy.
So yeah, I do most of them at work. But then I need to focus on getting home in the afternoon. I try and go to the gym. Not like my little skinny ass look like I need to go to the gym. But I try and go to the gym like a couple of days a week. But then I need to get home in the afternoon, take 2 hours, dedicate to my writing, and focus on that. Because I think I'd be able to get so much more accomplished here at home because I have so many distractions at work. So yeah, that's my process.
I've been saving up to fucking go. I've been saving up for the cyborg future when you can fucking write inside your head and it just translates out, and you can just write your book in your head and it saves it and shit, and then you just fucking shit it out into the computer.
I don't think I could do that though. I can't. I'm such a until my fingers touch the keyboard, or I have a pen, or I'm actually physically writing something, it just comes out writing for me. I'm not a verbal storyteller. I can't really think the story in my head. I try. I'll lie in bed and brainstorm, while I'm laying there until I fall asleep, trying to think of where I'm going to go with the story. And it's just weird. It's it just doesn't work for me until I'm actually at the keyboard or with a notebook or something, writing the words.
I'm kind of the same, dude. I do have to kind of write it myself.
Yeah.
But what I think, considering where we are for time right now, I would like to move into these points regarding the different options that, those who are getting ready to write have to choose from. And I've listed out a few pros and cons, but I would like you gentlemen to feel free to list any additional ones, or if you want to elaborate on a particular pro or con, feel free. So let's just start with what we do for the most part, which is self-publishing horror. So I would say that the pros of self-publishing horror yourself, as you know, under your own name, without using a press or anything, would be the control that you get, right? You are in control of the project from the cradle to the grave and how you want it to be shaped. The profits, right? You're going to get the biggest cut of your money if you're doing it yourself. And then creativity also, right? Sometimes if you're going to do submissions somewhere or something, you know, there's very rigid defined definitions of what they want. Not here. You're publishing whatever the fuck you want, right? And brand building, which is one that I consider to be an often overlooked, but one of the most important stepping stones if you want to do this for a living, building your brand. It's difficult to build your brand if you're sending just pieces of yourself everywhere, you know? Put the whole thing in one place and say, hey, come and get it. You know what I mean? And I think that's a huge pro for self-publishing. And then some of the cons, I would say, is it's an investment, right? You're gonna bear the brunt of the cost for all of this. So whereas other presses may be willing to absorb some of the costs, you're going to be paying for everything. There's certainly a learning curve, right? The learning curve is what we're here talking about on this show, right? We're trying to get people around that learning curve of how to do this, but it's a lot of stuff to learn. And then third, I would say it's very time consuming because you don't have anyone advertising for you or working at your behest or editing for you or designing your cover, all these things that you might get with going with a press. So before we move on though to small press, that's what I had just as some high level stuff for self-publishing horror, guys. Is there anything I missed or stuff that you guys can think of?
No, I think you pretty much nailed
I was thinking
all.
I was saying, I think this kind of goes along with the control aspect of it, is just the time frames of it too. Like I've had friends that were published that weren't self-published or published some books with, you know, a traditional publisher or something along those lines. And the book's done, but they're being told it's not going to be released for over a year just because the schedule won't allow it. They have other authors that they have who are a priority, or, you know what I mean? Like they have a set schedule. This many releases in a year, your book might be completely done and ready to make money and ready for you to move on, and you might have to wait a full year for it. So I think that goes along with the control part of it.
That's a great point.
And then to me, like one thing that people don't seem to understand a lot with social media is we work our asses off to, you know, to have a good time and talk to the readers and stuff like that and build, you know, it is building a brand, but also friendships and stuff like that. And a lot of people think that they won't have to do that if they get in with a traditional publisher. They think that if they just can get in the door with a publisher, it's going to be hands-free from there. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to take their book, edit it, market it, and they're going to make money. And that's just not the way of the world anymore. A lot of these publishers aren't going to do that much marketing for you. They're still going to want to see, and they might actually drop you if you're not doing your part, if you're not out there helping them build your brand. You know what I mean? Like talking to readers and getting involved and doing, you know, interviews and stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and then
one thing, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, what I was going to say when you said about having a book completed and not out there, when I was talking to Aaron earlier, Billy Silver was finished months before it actually came out, but I was seeking publication. So I had it out in the world trying to find a publisher and find a home for it, and eventually I couldn't place it anywhere, and it needed to be longer for some and or whatever. But at that point, I decided to publish it myself. But I lost a good probably 6 months of potential readership and income off of that book, just trying to find a traditional publisher for it, and it's done okay on its own.
Yeah, and just to sort of piggyback on what you're saying, and I don't think that Daniel's saying like, oh, when I released my first book, everybody would have fucking lined up to get it. He's not saying that. He's saying that he's 6 months behind now because of that. So at the point where he is now, where he is selling books, think of it from the front end, right? He could be sick, like he's selling pretty good right now. So he could have been selling pretty good longer than that, just because he didn't get that growing pains over with initially, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it was, again, like we talked with, the whole point of this is to show the learning curves that we went through and to try to help people around theirs. So that was my story with that book.
And then one of the cons that I wanted to add too is I have down camaraderie. One of the reasons I joined at one point a small publishing company was because I was excited to be part of like a team. I was just like, oh man, I'm going to be with a team of other authors. We're going to be like the fucking No Limit Soldiers from like the 90s and shit. It's going to be like Master P and Mystical and like fucking team, yeah, of these authors, and so I'm going to be part of a team. And you don't necessarily need that. I mean, like, that's what we're doing right now. And a big part, I'm sure this is going to come up many times in our discussions and stuff, is you should be reaching out to other self-published authors. You don't necessarily, now I'm not saying that being with a small publishing house or a bigger traditional one is a bad thing at all, but I'm just saying that one of the reasons I went into it at one point, it didn't work out for me, was mainly because of that. I wanted that camaraderie with other authors. And you can do that as a self-published author. You just have to work a little harder at it. You have to reach out to some of your, other self-published authors and stuff like that, and virtually shake their hand through Facebook and, and make friends, basically, kind of like what we're doing right now. So
yeah, no, definitely.
So moving on then to small press horror, and Carver, I'm going to kind of reiterate maybe a couple of things that you keyed in on, and I might have a different way of talking about them. But so small press horror, and for anyone who's not familiar with what that is, it's just like there are smaller independent horror presses that you can submit your material to, and they will publish it on, and you'll be a part of their brand, right? So some of the pros of that is, in theory, depending on the brand, you should get exposure. Networking, right? As Carver kind of mentioned, that was a reason why he said he joined one. You could potentially save money on editing and art, because when you submit your work, they should be taking care of that part of it, They should be editing it, and they should also be doing the cover art, and for the most part. And then it should be less time consuming in theory, right? Because all these things are happening. But let's look at the other side of it, right? Let's look at the cons. So some of the cons are going to be that your profits are going to be pinched, right? So a cut of your profit that you could be getting that goes into your pocket if you're selling directly is going to be shaved off and go to that publisher, of course, because they're doing said work for you. Also, contracts, right? So do you want your literature to be locked into a contract for a period of time? Depending on what publisher you go with, you may get a contract of, a year, couple years, 5 years. Sometimes it's 6 months if it's a short story. It could be, I don't know. It could be different with each one. It really depends on who you're talking to, because a lot of these small publishers are just like you and me, right? They're just people that are sort of, you may look up to them like seems like a very professional entity, right? But in reality, it's just people like you or I, and they're going to draw up their own guidelines to the contract and see what you're going to agree on. And we'll talk more about contracts in a later episode. But I also want to circle back to editing and art, right? We just said that that's a pro because they're going to help it, but it could easily be a con, okay? I've been involved with, I'm not going to name names. There's no point of that. We want to be positive here and tell you about places that are good that you can go to. We don't need to concentrate on where you shouldn't go. But editing and art is only going to be as good as the publisher that you're working with, okay? So, I mean, if you're good with a fucking cover that just has the name of the book and a tree on it, and, someone who's editing it, and you come back and you find all these typos that are riddled in it, what's that really going to do for you and your brand, and what you're trying to build? Could it be detrimental? Could you get to a point where, it's hurting you more than it's helping you? You know what I mean? So what do you guys think about that? These are just some of the things I got for the small press.
Well,
go ahead.
As everyone probably knows, I actually am signed currently with a small press. The books that I've signed with them haven't come out yet, and that's D&T Publishing, run by Dawn Shea. So, Aaron, what you said about the pros and cons are definitely hit the nail on the head with that. With a small press, it's nice because I don't have to really worry about much. I do and I don't. Obviously I'm going to be there for some of the final draft stuff, and Dawn is very inclusive on cover art if I have any questions or I have any input. But she uses Don Noble, who we've all seen his work, and it's phenomenal. So I'm not concerned about the cover art. But it's definitely one of those things where you have to sign with a good, reputable small press because you don't want to look stupid. You don't want to have your work out there, poorly edited or with some ridiculous cover. And I think everybody's seen like some of the old leisure horror covers. Like some of those covers are atrocious, and they're like grade A authors, and their covers are terrible. I think I have Brian Keene's Earthworm Gods, and it looks like somebody just like cut and pasted a picture of an earthworm over like a model city. So I mean, some of these covers are just they just look bad. But the small press, like you said, saving the money. They do handle a lot of the stuff, but you are giving away your profits. Well, not giving it away, but they're earning their money back. So I think for me right now, I'm doing like a hybrid kind of version where I'm self-publishing some stuff, and I have some books coming out small press. I guess we'll see how it goes, but I have high hopes for Dawn.
And Dawn's great. I'm sure she's going to do a great job. I've seen some of the other books, very good. I think we can say that like that would be a good one to submit with. Yeah. But you shouldn't take anyone else's advice, okay? No. You should be going there, and like with me, when I kept looking at different presses, I always really liked what Deadite did. As far as like their covers and their presentation and just sort of how their stuff looked, I always thought like Deadite was really cool. And I just think like everyone should do that. If you're thinking about invest in your work in someone, you should definitely purchase a book from them. Get yourself a physical paperback. Take a look at what the formatting looks like. Sometimes this formatting's complete shit. I mean, I was in a collection one time, and I mean, this fucking thing, it looked like a kindergartner put it together, man. Like, it was literally, like, I sent him the shit in paragraphs, how it should be, and it's just broken up into, like, one line in a space after every one line. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And I'm just like, that's when I started rethinking it. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, is it worth me investing time to submit a story when it's going to come out looking like it came out of something's anus? You know what I mean? Like, this is fucking absurd.
That's I was gonna say one important thing is just to trust your gut too, because you were talking about cover art and editing and stuff. I didn't trust my gut with that small publisher I went with a long time ago, and I ended up they made me pay for my editing, and I was so new and so green at the time I didn't realize that you shouldn't, and I was just like, I used my own cover, because my brother did the cover art at the time, and I liked it a lot. I liked it better than what they would have done. And but then I did pay for my editing, and there were still mistakes and stuff in it like that, and I didn't trust my gut, and it was just a bad experience. Yeah. And then another time where I did trust my gut, I was talking to a guy on the phone that wanted me to come to his publishing company and stuff, and I knew he could make a shit ton of money. I mean, the guy was just golden boy. He was making a lot of money. But one of the first questions he asked me is if I could write a 150,000 word book. And I said, 150, so why the fuck would I want to write 150,000? I mean, I can physically, yeah, but only if the story calls for it. I'm not going to force them.
You talk about the Bible? Like,
yeah. And the funny thing is I have 150,000 word books, like in my MC series and stuff, but the story called for it, right? So I was just like, something told me not to trust this company and stuff. And so I said, no, I said, I'm not interested in working with you. And then that company ended up having a bunch of books pulled from Amazon because of, I don't know exactly what went on, but I can tell you that a lot of authors had their books pulled and stuff because of something going on. Just, I don't know if it was shady practices or what, but I trusted my gut, and thank God, or I would have had all my books pulled down.
Well, dude, just think of the investment though, too, dude. 150,000 words to somebody that you. I mean, I gotta fucking be a blood brother with you to give you that, or to say I'm gonna invest that much time. in doing that for who knows what, you know, like you got to be really sure about that because you could be fucking doing it yourself so much easier.
Yeah. And that's what I did. So, and the
one thing that Carla, you said that I just want to touch on that I want the aspiring writers to know the difference of is when you said you had to pay for your editing, like we are talking about small presses, definitely not vanity presses. Like there's vanity presses out there that will take you for all you're worth, and they'll charge you a couple $1,000s to publish your own book when in reality you could do it on Amazon for royalties. So that's one thing that you got to watch out for is people trying to con you into paying money to publish your book.
Yeah, and they won't come straight out and say, and the one I'm talking about was just a small publishing house.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of vanity. It's good that you said that because there are a lot of vanity presses right now pretending to be small publishing houses. Like they're not going to say I'm a vanity press. You know, they're going to say we could make you this kick-ass book, and all you need to do is pay for the editing and pay for, you know what I mean, and then break it down into monthly installments and shit like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You should never have to pay to a publisher to publish your book. And
that's rule number one, dude. Right? Like rule number one. Like you should never have to pay anything really. You're giving them a product that is supposed to generate income. It's like the fucking phone schemes, right? When people call you and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'll send you a check for $1,000, but you got to give me this much first," right? It's fucking bullshit, dude. It's snake oil salesmen.
Let that be rule number one to anybody out there thinking about they want to try their hand at this. Don't fucking pay to have your book published. If somebody says you need to pay us, tell them thank you for your time and eat shit.
Right. And notice. And just to piggyback before you go, Carver. And so notice when I said investment, just to clarify, on self-publishing horror, that is when you are publishing it. There is an investment. Okay. Yes.
Well, I was just going to say it's kind of a pro and a con is that a pro of going with a small press is that you do get to do anthologies a lot of time, which means you can also piggyback off of other authors' success. You can be a part of that camaraderie that I talked about, that part of that team. But what can also be a con is that there are publishers out there that will not allow you to just publish a book through them. Like they're forcing you to just do anthologies. So again, trust your gut. If you find yourself with somebody and you're like, hold on a second, you know, like I'm constantly putting in stories for $25 a pop. I have a novel that I'm trying to publish and they're not interested in it. You know what I mean? And it's just anthology after anthology. And you're being forced to only do anthologies with that company. I think you should probably evaluate the situation and think about it.
Well,
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Or go to a different publisher for your novel because maybe that publisher only does anthologies. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, but if you're being forced to only give your work to them for $25 a pop for the next 5 years, you know,
that's something that leads right into the next bullet point, which is submissions. Okay, and I just put it as submissions, more geared toward anthology, really. And I mean, I read an old Shane McKenzie interview, great horror author, extreme horror author Shane McKenzie, right? And he talked about those little leech presses and that he used to submit to him. You know what I mean? And like, basically, they don't fucking do anything to promote anything. They don't pay you for your work, and they're just hoping that the friends and family of the authors that are submitting and getting their names published are going to buy the book, and they're going to make the money off that. And you know what I mean? They're just leeching off the friends and family of the authors, and they're not paying. You should always be paid, in my opinion. I don't think you should. I mean, I'll say this. I guess it depends on what you're aspiring to do. If you just want to get your name in print, I mean, I guess go for it. You know, just do something that doesn't get paid. But if you're really trying to take this seriously, you don't need to be wasting your time and dicking around with people that are gonna not pay you anything for your hard work. Okay, because that's complete bullshit, dude. You know.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. That is the thing. Like you said, your goals and aspirations. Like, you know, the professional. I believe the professional going rate per word for a short story is about 3 cents, 3 to 5 cents. So if you are submitting a 3,000 word story, you should expect to get $60 off that story. And some of these people are throwing around $5 in a contributor's ebook, and you're like, yeah, no, that's not gonna fly. I wrote a 10,000 word story, and you want to pay me in fucking $5 in an ebook. Like that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
But for some people it might. If that's your goal, like Aaron said, like if you just want to see your name in print and have something to put up on the shelf, then that's great. And I think we talked about this at the beginning of, can I write? And it really is a great way to circle back to that. And the fact of the matter is, yes, you can write, but what's your end goal? If you just want to see your name in print, then great. You can, submit it to these free anthologies and get a couple bucks here and you're all set. But if you want to make some money off of it, or you want to publish novels, then I think you have to sit down and evaluate your hard work and time. I mean, if we sat down and calculated our hourly rate for the amount of time we put into our books, it would probably be like fucking 4 cents an hour. I mean, for the amount of time we put into our books.
No, you're gonna make me cry. Don't say it.
It's an emotional night, guys.
Yeah. Go right into depression and shit.
I mean, and that's the reality. And a lot of these places, like Aaron said, yeah. What'd you say in the other one? 90% of the time you have a gun in your mouth.
Yeah.
Fucking episode 3.
Yeah, baby.
But that's the thing with these some of the anthology presses. They just want to try to make their bucks off you.
But it's something else that I don't think a lot of people think about too is you also got to look at the when do the rights get reverted back to you, or is it how long is the exclusivity and shit like that? Because if you are just trying to get your name in print and you want to have a book on your shelf and know that you're part of an anthology or collection and stuff like that, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And if you submit to 8 different anthologies and you're going to get your rights back in a year for all 8 of them or whatever, the contract says, then you just put them together and create your own collection book. I mean, that's not such a bad thing either. It is a way of kind of slowly collecting stories and stuff, and then you put your own collection book together in the end. So that's something to think about too. Just make sure you're not giving your work away for too long.
I would say if you really want to approach this like serious, you know what I mean? If you want to go at it like, you're going to fucking try and be releasing stuff, try and make money, try and build your brand. In my opinion, don't fucking waste your time with anthologies to start with. And you guys may be completely against me. I'm just saying this. I'll go out on the limb. I did like 5 anthologies or some shit. My first year of writing that got accepted. These fucking books. A lot of books that come out, like you said, they don't end up getting promoted properly because a lot of it is the authors are expected to promote, and then a lot of the authors are nobodies in some of these collections, so it gets very minimal exposure, right? So I would say, like, if you're starting out, try to invest in yourself, dude, and like your stories, putting something together and putting it out. Because I see people all the time, man, online. Oh, I'm depressed. I got a rejection. I'm like, man, dude, I'm so fucking far past rejections, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I don't give a fuck about. No one's rejecting my shit because I'm in control.
Yeah.
I'm spoon feeding it. You know what I mean? Like, so I think if more people.
I got from one of those Drabble collections, and I was like, damn, that hurt. That 100 words.
So, Aaron, you're saying you prefer to self-publish than have somebody do it for you?
1,000%.
Daniel?
Right now, I'm gonna wait and see to give that answer because I haven't had anything published yet by D&T. It's in the works. But Dawn, like I said, when we talk about contracts, I won't reveal what it was in my contract, but it was very fair, and I think Dawn definitely has the interest of her authors at heart, and I can't say enough good things about her. But for right now, I'm self-publishing, and it's a pain in the ass. And but I'm trying to make it work here.
I don't know, Carver. What do you think you like more?
I'm somewhere in the middle, man. All my stuff is self-published right now, but I haven't ruled out going with a publishing company, mostly because of that marketing aspect and stuff I've said before. Like there's a lot I need to learn about the marketing and promotions aspect of it. So if I found the right publisher who was willing to, work their ass off as hard as I am, totally, but not if I'm going to do all the fucking work and you're going to take a big percentage of the profit and, just kind of leave me hanging. So which is what happened to me in the past. So that's why I have a kind of sour taste in my mouth. It's not. But again, I was with somebody who literally made me pay for the editing and didn't do shit. Just collected a paycheck and then dropped me when sales were. So I mean, there's a big difference.
And Roland, to clarify on my statement, I'm not totally against going with a small press publishing. I'm saying that don't waste your time dicking around and hoping for the fucking best with a rejection letter from an anthology that probably a lot of people aren't going to read anyway. That you think it's going to be, if you're aspiring just to get into a book, yeah, then maybe it's a little bit more crushing. But dude, if you're out there just trying to get your shit going, don't fucking get caught up with that. Don't sit there, start typing out these, don't format these ridiculous formats that they ask for sometimes. Oh, fucking 12-inch font and all this. Like, you're going through all this different stuff, wasting time when you could be writing and accumulating material and fucking building a brand and making money. Which, what, you're going to get $20 from that? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry, it just don't make sense.
I'm definitely not speaking ill against any kind of publishing company, big or small. Me, myself, when I first wrote my book, I didn't think about submitting to anybody. Not because I was afraid it was going to get rejected. It's because I wanted to do the work myself. But then again, it was my first book. So, I was excited about it. If I had the opportunity to be with a publishing company and it was somebody, noteworthy like Dawn or any of the other ones that we know of, I would probably jump at it. But so I'm definitely not speaking ill against any publishing company. I was just curious of what your personal preference was and thinking about what I did and how I went about my first book.
Oh no, and Roland, just to clarify, I was saying I have the same view as you on that. Like, as far as if I was publishing a novella or a collection, I would certainly entertain the offer of a publishing company for that. Yeah. But I'm just saying I think that anthology submissions to people who are just starting out can be a waste of time when you could be fucking diving in full speed. Instead, you're just kind of writing a couple little stories here and there and then spending a bunch of time doing all this prep work to submit it when you could leap forward in your progression so much further if you just took that initiative, in my opinion. And again, guys, I don't fucking know shit, honestly. I'm not some fucking super successful author. I'm doing decent. That's about it. But I'm just saying, those first 2 years of writing for me, that's how I saw it. But
gotcha. Okay, cool.
Sometimes you just have to use a little bitchcraft. I just realized after talking to you for over a fucking hour that your shirt says bitchcraft.
You know what that's from, right?
No.
American Horror Story Coven.
Is it?
Yeah, it's my favorite American Horror Story.
I don't know how I just didn't zone in and actually read your shirt. I was just like, huh.
That's your favorite one?
That one and Freak Show.
All right.
Yeah. Why? You didn't like it?
I'm gonna reserve my comment.
It was filmed in New Orleans. How could you not like it?
I did like the 1984 one. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, you like that one?
Yo, that new Craft, Roland, was so bad, dude.
Huh?
The new Craft, oh my god, that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it, but I thought the ending was
You
ridiculous.
Didn't hate it, dude?
I didn't hate the movie somehow.
Wow.
It wasn't that
You gotta
bad.
realize it wasn't a remake of Craft. Definitely wasn't a remake or a reimagining. No. So I had to look at it totally separate.
Nothing happened in it. Nothing happened.
What? You convinced me. Fuck it. I hate it. I don't know. I just remember thinking it wasn't I remember thinking I would hate it and not necessarily hating it.
Yeah. The David Duchovny shapeshift scene was kind of laughable too. It literally made me laugh out loud.
I just felt like the end felt like a quick episode of Supernatural or something that just kind of bam, over. I was like, what the fuck? That's it? That's the finale.
Well, I think, man, we're running. I don't know if we're going to have time for questions. We might have time for one. I'll just knock out the rest of this real quick because for submissions, the pros were networking, exposure, collaboration, and low cost. And the cons were that, in my opinion, it could be counterintuitive, time-consuming, and unfruitful pay. You got to watch out for snaky presses as well. So the last two options, which we're really not going to talk about a lot on this show, are traditional publishing and going and seeking out an agent, right? Which the pros and cons are kind of similar to those. Like the pros are like, you would get top distribution and exposure. The cons, you're going to waste a ton of time, getting rejected more than likely. There's the contracts aspect and the pinched profits. And then, same thing, agents, it's not exactly easy to get an agent either, but.
The toughest part for me with all of that, it's like if you go look at any of the websites, it'll say like you can't, most of the time they won't take previously submitted work or previously published work. Mm-hmm. So you have to you seriously have to have written a novel that you have done nothing else with but wait to see if you can get into a traditional publisher. I mean, so it's you know what I mean? Like it's kind of, to me, it's like, man, I could have already put that up and been writing the next one. Like, or I can have a book ready to go that I'm doing nothing with other than holding off to the side to see if I can get an agent, but I can only send it to one at a time, or, you know what I mean? Or a publisher, same thing. Like I can send it to one publisher at a time, or it's, I don't know. Just to me, it's like you were saying, it's just kind of,
it's like, I mean, obviously none of us fucking have a clue what that type of success is like.
I just don't want to hold off on my work.
I mean, I figure we
6-figure advances.
Yeah, I figure we should mention it though, because those are legitimate routes that a lot of writers take. But you're probably not going to hear us talking about that because this podcast is about doing it yourself and showing you how to be resourceful and self-reliant. So, you want to fuck with an agent? Go fuck with an agent. Get the fuck out of here. No, I'm just kidding.
It's not your show.
But guys, we're kind of running the wire on time, so I'm going to say let's hold off until our next episode to start answering the mailbag, just because we're at about an hour and 20 minutes now. But I think we can go ahead and wrap up today by giving our plugs, and also what we wanted to do is each quickly mention and spotlight one of our readers at the end of the show. And we're going to be doing this moving forward. Today, because it's the first time we're doing it, each of us are going to spotlight one reader that's really fucking awesome and, has been good to us. They've gone ahead and either shared our work and promoted it or just enjoyed it, reviewed it, whatever. It could be anything, right? But don't feel left out if you don't get mentioned, because in the upcoming weeks, we're going to be recognizing one reader at the end of every Written and Read podcast episode, and we will all present each, different times. So one week it'll be Daniel, next week Roland, me, etc. Awesome. But to close it out, guys, again, my name is Aaron Bargaard, the Splatterpunk Award-nominated horror author. And you can find my work on Amazon or Godless. You can check me out on the Evil Examined podcast if you want to check out what's like some weird paranormal shit. Actually, me and JP just did our first video episode, so that should be up by the time you guys are hearing this. So go ahead and check out the Evil Examined YouTube channel. And then I want to go ahead and recognize probably... I would say my top reader is Karina Morse, and she really was. I think it was back when I did a promotion for Die Tommy where I was giving it away for free, or it might have been Pizza Face. She picked up the book for free, and ever since then she's read everything that I've written. She's bought everything in paperback, and she shared it relentlessly, and constantly sort of brags that she has the definitive collection of me, because she was the first person outside of my family to read all of my books. So I spent $78 and I sent her a package with a bunch of my proofs, a flag of Pizza Face. It's kind of like an artwork to hang on the wall. All this shit. Like she got the treasure trove of cool shit. And it means a lot to her. And I just want her to know that all that stuff means a lot to me. And I believe that you were a part of my success, and that a lot of my sales were derived because you were generous enough to go out of your way and share my material. So thank you, Karina. I appreciate you.
All right. I'll go next, I guess. Carver Pike, you can find my stuff on Amazon, on carverpike.com. Some of my books, a few of them now are going wide, so you can find them on every site, on godless.com as well. I want to give a special thanks to, I'm going to butcher his name, and he's going to probably kill me for this, but because I say it wrong every time, but Gerard Jason Geek. He told me to call him Gary, so we're going with Gary, man. This dude, man, he's read pretty much my entire catalog, and he is also editing, so he's looking for editing work. If you guys want to reach out to him, he's a writer himself. I mean, the guy's just awesome, and he's read pretty much everything. And Karina is also awesome, so I'm going to say that too as well.
Hey, don't you be cutting in on Karina.
Hey, I'm jumping on all you.
You son of a bitch.
I love to have said somebody that I like as well. But I do appreciate you, Gary. I love that you've read all my stuff, man. And I think you pretty much made it through all the catalog. I think you might have said that you had like Redgrave to read or something left, but I know you've read pretty much everything, man. And I really do appreciate it. Plus our conversations and advice and just, a shoulder to, lean on sometimes. Thank you, man.
All right. Daniel Volpe. You can find me on Amazon like everyone else. Godless.com. My new book, Talia, will be on both of those platforms. Facebook, Daniel J. Volpe, or Daniel Volpe, and Instagram, DJ Volpe, author. And I want to shout out probably...
I'm sorry, Daniel. What? I don't mean to cut you off, but I have to say there'll be no fucking mention of Brad Tierney on this show.
All right.
So I fucking hope that you are not planning on doing something.
I wasn't going to say Brad Tierney. I was going to say B-Rad Tierney.
Written in Brad. Written Brad.
Yeah, I want to shout out the fucking one and only Brad Tierney. This dude lives, breathes, eats, sleeps, and smokes horror. He beta read for Awakened in Blood for me. And like Aaron, just to show appreciation, I sent him an uncorrected proof, the only hardcover that I had made. So he's got a one-of-a-kind book because he is a fucking one-of-a-kind guy. And he's just an awesome guy. He just reviews everyone's stuff and just a friendly guy to hang out with and BS with. So B-Rad, I hope you're listening to this and enjoy the show, man. Thank you for everything.
I just wanted to say you guys are nice, but fuck both y'all for sending people shit because I didn't send anything to Gary. Roland, tell me you didn't send anything to your person.
You said he didn't read Redgrave. Send him fucking Redgrave, motherfucker.
Send him Redgrave, you fucker.
You cheap fuck.
I guess I don't know what he hasn't read. I think.
Man, it's only. What he said. Yeah. I wonder if there's like a messaging app you could use to message him and see what he doesn't have.
Yeah.
Send him a copy. Go ahead, Roland. Close us out. Play us out.
You can find me. Actually, I'm on Godless now. Woohoo! So Abortion is on Godless. I'm on. I have a website, RolandBerseyJr.com. I'm on Amazon, and I just checked. My book is on Barnes and Noble. I don't know how the hell that happened.
Yo.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? I was gonna sue them. I was like, they're stealing my book. There's a million people I want to thank, and I say that honestly. You guys are the same way. There's so many people that read our stuff and they comment on our stuff, and there's a million people I want to say thank you to. But I'm going to say thank you to the most recent person who wrote a review for me. Aaron, you wrote me a kick-ass review, and that was awesome. But Andy and Brandy Carroll, Andy just wrote a review for me, and it was epic. And I've been chatting with them the last couple of days. They're so sweet and they're so nice. And so I just want to thank Andy and Brandy. And I did send them stuff, Carver. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Hey, Garrett, you're getting a mother load, dude. Fucking little Debbie snacks and you're getting all kinds of shit.
I say you send them your big old thing in the background. That's what you should do to make up for it.
I don't like y'all anymore.
Hey, man, one last thing. Fuck Brad Tierney. And no, I'm just kidding. I do love Brad, too. I think he's I wanted to say real quick that I think he's a great inspiration. And also, there's a bunch of people that have come up to me and said, I started reading your stuff as a result of Brad sharing it. So
Awesome, man.
I reluctantly want to thank him for his contributions to my lackluster career. But
And Brad writes the most exciting reviews, man. When you read his reviews, it's like a book in itself. It's exciting, man.
it just
And
sounds like he's...
I'm sorry, I can't leave without saying I love Andy and Brandy too, man. They're my peeps.
So
They're
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually going to be talking about them for a moment next week. Next episode.
Next
Fuck.
episode.
God damn it.
Motherfuck.
Hey,
So-
don't forget, Aaron, we have one more very important person.
Yes. Chris Jones, who started the Written and Read Discord room on Facebook. These fucking people created it themselves. God bless them.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of
Amazing.
low on time. So this is incredible. They're holding all kinds of conversations, talking shit about us. It's phenomenal.
I love it. Yeah.
That's
The shit talking's my favorite part. Like, if you want to talk shit, I fucking love it. I welcome it. I bask in it, please. So we're gonna start a subreddit there, or subpage on that for just shit talking.
So thank you very much, Chris Jones.
Yes, thank you,
Thank
Chris.
you very much.
And
And
I don't-
all the other admins on there.
Yeah, I know he appointed some admins, so
Yeah.
I feel sad that we don't know who they are, but Chris thanked them for us, and he started it anyway, so he should be recognized.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's what we got for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I felt like this was a fucking information-packed episode of Written and Read.
Yeah.
Can I write? Yes, you can. Will you write? You need to let us know. You can email us at writtenandreadpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if the podcast has inspired you to start writing. We'll go ahead and give you a shout out on the show. And continue to send the questions, because while we didn't get to them this week, Carver does have the mailbag in frame, and you can expect us to dive in next episode.
Aaron, real quick before we go, don't forget, everyone, Dustin LaValley, check him out as well. 12 gauge, songs from Street Sweeper, and Silenced Dawn. Check him out. Amazon, Facebook, Instagram, all those good places. Support a great author and a great friend.
And the animals.
And his animals.
Yes.
Love the animals.
A true gentleman, it
All
sounds
right,
like.
go ahead, Aaron. Play us out.
Well, I think then, guys, just hang in there another couple weeks until we return to talk about Elizabeth Bedlam and some of the more awesome review bloggers that do it just for the passion of horror. The reviewers, and they share shit. And you guys are going to love it. We're going to recognize some great people in the community and let you understand how you can interact with them and network, and everyone's a winner, right? So, but until then, keep it 100% horror.